right, so we're diving into Frankenstein again.
Yeah.
Chapters 16 through 18 this time.
Okay.
Picking up right where we left off. After that crazy rejection of the creature by the DeLacy family.
Yeah.
And things get intense, really intense. It's like everything just kind of spirals downward from there.
Yeah. Shelley does a remarkable job portraying the creature's just descent into despair and rage. He actually uses some pretty strong words to describe himself, like archfiend and bearing a hell within, you know.
Yeah, it's powerful. Yeah. Like you really feel that inner turmoil.
Absolutely.
And then that whole thing with him burning down the cottage.
Right.
It's not just revenge, right?
No, I think it goes deeper than that.
Yeah.
It feels symbolic, you know.
Oh, for sure.
It's this turning point where his rage just becomes completely destructive. Yeah. Burning the cottage, it's almost like he's trying to just destroy any possibility of ever being accepted.
Obliterate it, yeah.
Yeah, or finding any sense of belonging. It's like he's inflicting that pain that he feels onto the world around him.
So do you think this violence, was it always going to happen?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like the core question that haunts this entire story.
Right.
On the one hand, you know, he was born different.
Right.
He was born with this otherness that made people afraid of him.
Right.
But then on the other hand, it's like all that rejection, all that fear in the eyes of everyone he meets, that's what fuels his rage.
Yeah, it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy. The more he's treated like a monster, the more monstrous he becomes.
Absolutely.
But then we see these moments where he does things that are good. Like saving that little girl from drowning.
Oh, wait, that's after the fire, too.
Yeah, it's such a selfless act.
It is, and it really speaks to the complexity of his character. He's not this one-dimensional monster.
Right.
He's capable of compassion, of empathy.
Yeah.
But then, of course, even that act of kindness backfires.
Yeah, like immediately the guy who sees him saving her
Yeah.
just assumes he's attacking her.
It's heartbreaking.
Like the ultimate confirmation of all his fears about humanity.
Exactly. It's like it just reinforces his worldview that humans are incapable of seeing past their fear.
And then that brings us to this other big theme.
Yes.
That idea of the responsibility of the creator.
Absolutely.
Like he finds Victor's journeys.
Right.
And for the first time, he understands where he came from.
Right. He realizes who created him.
And he goes straight to Geneva.
Yeah, it's a huge turning point in the story.
It is.
And then his disdain for a companion that becomes central to the plot.
It does.
He truly believes that that's the only solution to his suffering, to find love and acceptance.
It's like his only hope.
It is. He says, I am alone and miserable. Man will not associate with me, but one as deformed and horrible as myself would not deny herself to me. My companion must be of the same species and have the same defects. This being you must create.
It's like he's putting Victor in this impossible position.
Yes.
You know, Victor's horrified by what he's created and terrified of what might happen if he creates another.
Absolutely.
But is he ethically obligated to help?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, Shelley doesn't give us any easy answers.
No?
She really forces us to consider, like, what are the implications of playing God?
Right.
Interfering with the natural order.
And it's so relevant even today.
Oh, absolutely.
Like with all the advances in technology, genetic engineering.
It's a dilemma that we're still grappling with in many ways.
And it's fascinating to see how both Victor and the creature are transforming throughout these chapters.
Oh, definitely.
Like, remember how innocent the creature was at first?
Right? He was so eager to learn.
Yeah, to connect with the world.
He just longed for acceptance, for love.
But all the rejection and isolation have just twisted those desires into something darker.
They have.
His language even changes.
It does. It becomes so much more bitter and despairing.
Like when he says, my vices are the children of a forced solitude.
Oh, that's such a powerful line.
It is. It really gets to you.
It does. It's like he's grappling with these huge philosophical questions about good and evil, about free will, about, you know, determinism, trying to figure out where he fits in.
Right, what his place is.
In a world that doesn't seem to want him at all.
And what about Victor?
Oh, Victor is just consumed by guilt and fear.
He is. You can just feel it. So why do you think he's so hesitant to create a companion?
I don't think it's just fear, you know? I think there's more to it.
Like what?
Well, he's wrestling with the consequences of his own ambition, right? This ambition to go beyond the limits of nature.
Yeah.
I think he's questioning his own morality. Like, does he even have the right to create life?
That's a huge question.
It is, and especially to create a life that could be even more destructive than the first.
So he does eventually agree, though.
He does, but he sets these conditions.
Yeah.
He wants them to disappear.
Right, away from society.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to gain some control over this.
It's like, is he really trying to be responsible? Is he just trying to make himself feel better?
So much to think about there.
It is.
And Shelley's use of language in these chapters is just amazing.
Oh, it's definitely.
The way she captures the creature's inner turmoil.
Yeah.
It's so vivid.
Like, take for example when he describes his rage after being shot.
Oh, right.
He says, the feelings of kindness and gentleness, which I had entertained but a few moments before, gave place to hellish rage and gnashing of teeth.
That's powerful stuff.
It is. It's like you can feel the shift within him.
Yeah.
That extreme contrast between kindness and rage.
And then there are those beautiful descriptions of nature.
Oh, yeah.
Like the stark contrast with the darkness inside him.
Right. It's as if nature itself is reflecting his emotional state.
Yeah.
Like when he's grappling with loneliness and despair, the cold stars shone in mockery.
But even in those dark moments,
yeah,
there's these little glimpses of tranquility.
Right.
Like when he says, the pleasant sunshine and the pure air of day restored me to some degree of tranquility.
It's a reminder that beauty and peace still exist in the world.
Yeah.
Even as he's consumed by his inner torment.
And it kind of shows his connection to nature.
Oh, absolutely.
Which really sets him apart from Victor.
Yeah, Victor, who's becoming more and more isolated from nature through his scientific pursuits.
And then there's that first-person narration.
Oh, that's so powerful.
Like, we're forced to see things from his perspective.
Exactly. Even though we might be repulsed by his actions, we're still made to feel his pain, his loneliness.
Like, we're complicit.
In a way,
in his story.
Right.
It's really incredible how Shelley does that.
Yeah, it's a testament to her genius that she can create a character who's both monstrous and deeply human.
Both terrifying and sympathetic.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes these chapters and Frankenstein in general
so powerful. It's a story that forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about ourselves.
Our capacity for both good and evil.
About the consequences of our actions.
It's a story that still speaks to us today.
Oh, absolutely. Centuries later.
It's amazing.
It is. It really is.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break here.
Okay.
But when we come back, we'll delve even deeper into these chapters.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned.
And it's not just the career, that Victor is going through his own transformation, like this internal conflict he's wrestling with between fear and responsibility.
It's really intense.
It is, and you can feel it in every decision he makes.
He even thinks about just breaking his promise.
Right, like just forgetting about the whole thing.
But that threat of revenge just hangs over him.
It does constantly. Shelley creates this atmosphere of dread so effectively. You can just feel Victor's anxiety.
It's suffocating.
It is, and then there's that added layer of dramatic irony.
Oh, right.
When his father suggests that he and Elizabeth should get married.
Oh, my gosh, the timing.
Right. Talk about bad timing.
It couldn't be worse.
He's got this horrible secret, and everyone's pushing for this picture-perfect life.
It just adds to the tension.
It does. It really emphasizes his isolation.
Yeah.
Like he's trapped in this isolation.
So he comes up with this plan to go to England.
Right. Supposedly for his studies.
But really, he's just running away, right?
Well, is he running away or is he trying to gain some control?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
It is, because on one hand, he's terrified.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he still feels obligated to fulfill his promise.
It's such a weird mix of emotions.
It is. And meanwhile, his poor father...
I know, right?
He thinks Victor's finally getting over his melancholy.
He has no idea.
No idea what's really going on.
It's kind of sad.
It is. It adds to the tragedy of it all. Victor's carrying this burden completely alone.
He can't tell anyone.
Right. It's like he's living this double life.
And in a way, his isolation mirrors the creatures.
Oh, absolutely.
They're both alienated from the world.
Yeah, trapped in their own personal hells.
But then we have Clerval arriving.
Right. Full of life and excitement.
It's such a stark contrast.
It is. He embodies everything that Victor has lost.
Yeah, like his youthful optimism.
His zest for life, that pure joy and discovery.
Clerval's captivated by everything they see.
But Victor can barely appreciate it.
He's too caught up in his own darkness.
Yeah, there's that line where he says, I, a miserable wretch, haunted by a curse that shut up every avenue to enjoyment.
Oh man, that one really gets to you.
It does. It sums up his entire mental and emotional state.
And it kind of echoes what the creature said.
Oh, totally. About his vices being the children of solitude.
Yeah, they're both suffering.
In their own ways, yeah.
Victims of the same circumstances.
Yeah, exactly.
But then Victor starts to worry.
What if the creature doesn't follow him to England?
Yeah, what if he stays in Geneva?
That's his worst nightmare.
It is. The thought of the creature taking revenge on his family.
What horrifying consequence of his actions.
It really hits home for him, that.
It does, the danger he's put them in.
And that whole scene where he leaves Geneva.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
That tearful farewell with Elizabeth. The dread just oozing from him.
And then Shelley leaves us hanging.
Yeah, with Victor heading to England.
Knowing that the creature is out there somewhere.
Waiting.
Exactly. And that's where we'll pick up next time.
Talk about a cliffhanger.
Right.
You can just feel the suspense building.
Yeah, she's really good at that. Shelley, weaving those big questions into those really intense plot points.
And it all comes back to that idea of consequences, right?
Yeah, the consequences of creation and ambition.
Like how far is too far?
Exactly.
Victor definitely crossed a line.
He did.
But he's still so tormented by this sense of responsibility.
Right. It's this weird paradox.
It is. He's disgusted by what he created.
Yeah.
But he still feels like he has to control it.
Yeah, and the creature's demand for a companion really brings that to the forefront. Like, is Victor obligated to create another being?
Right.
Just to ease the suffering of the first?
That's a tough one.
It is. It's like, where do you even begin to answer that?
And what about the creature's belief that love will solve everything?
Right. Like, love and companionship will just erase the evil.
Yeah, can that really happen?
Can happiness even exist in isolation?
Even if you have someone who understands you.
Right.
It's a question that people have been debating forever.
And Shelley doesn't make it easy for us.
No.
She really forces us to think about it.
Yeah.
Like, does isolation always lead to darkness?
Or can there be redemption?
Even for someone like the creature.
It's so interesting how isolation is such a central theme.
Yeah.
Both Victor and the creature are completely alone.
Each suffering in their own way.
Victor with his guilt and fear.
And the creature with his longing for connection. It's like they're mirror images of each other.
They are, in a way.
Reflecting how destructive isolation can be.
But they also respond to that isolation so differently.
Right. Victor tries to hide.
The creature wants to confront everything head on.
It's fascinating.
And again, Shelley's language just brings it all to life.
Oh, it's so evocative.
Like when Victor talks about the dreary imaginations filling his mind.
Yeah, you can just feel the weight of his despair.
And those contrasts between Victor and the creature.
Right, like Victor feeling so alienated from nature.
And the creature finding solace in it.
Yeah, like when he talks about being restored by the sunshine and fresh air.
Yeah, it's like a glimpse of hope.
It is. It shows that he's not just this monster consumed by rage.
Right, he can appreciate beauty.
And feel connected to something larger than himself.
It's what makes him such a tragic figure.
Definitely.
So complex.
Capable of great compassion.
But also terrible violence.
It reminds us that we all have that potential, right?
Yeah, for both good and evil.
That line between the two is often blurry.
And it's our choices, our circumstances that shape who we become.
Yeah.
So we're left with a lot to think about.
Definitely.
The nature of good and evil, the responsibility of creation.
The power of isolation.
The possibility of redemption.
Those are themes that are still relevant today.
Absolutely.
Shelley doesn't give us easy answers.
No, she makes us confront these issues.
Yeah, wrestle with those uncomfortable truths.
And that's what makes Frankenstein so powerful.
It's a masterpiece.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I keep thinking, where do we go from here?
Right. What choices will Victor make?
Will he keep his promise to the creature?
And at what cost?
We're left with more questions than answers.
But that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, Frankenstein makes us think.
It challenges us, provokes us.
It inspires us to really look at the human experience.
And it stays with you long after you finished reading it.
It does. That's the sign of truly great literature.
Absolutely.
So keep exploring, keep questioning.
Keep diving deep into the world of Frankenstein.
And we'll be back soon to explore even more of this amazing story together.